Welcome back to Let's Make a Game, the channel where we are making a computer role-playing game using the free program Twine and the Sugarcube format for Twine. I have updated the artwork for the game, specifically the map pictures. They now have rounded corners, as the other pictures do, and they have a sort of hand-drawn look, or sort of brushwork look, I suppose. But most importantly, they are done by me, which means that when I upload the game to itch.io, I don't have to delete all the map pictures, which in turn means that you can sort of play what I've made of the game without a quite important part of the display being missing. I do need to update the arrows, the directional arrows, so that they fit with the new pictures. I also need to add icons to indicate when there's something in a particular area. But what I want to do with the rest of this video is show you how I made these graphics. So first of all, I had to get this sort of texture, the background texture, and I needed to get something to do this sort of brushwork with. So to get the texture, I went to unsplash.com. I searched for parchment, and there's a few possibilities, but I chose this one, and I just downloaded that. And to get the brush, I searched for brush stroke. And again, there are a few options, but I eventually went with this one because I wanted sort of long, thin brush strokes. So I downloaded that one as well. And I got into GIMP. Now, obviously, if you're not using GIMP, these instructions won't be exactly the same. I think this is very similar, if not identical, to how it works in Photoshop, but I can't speak to any other program. GIMP is free, and I will link to it in the description. You might recall a few videos ago I made a sort of master picture for rounding of corners, and I used that. Now where is it? I know where it is. It's in original. Sorry. This template here, which has all of the bits that should be taken out in black. So I've already gone through how I made that in a previous video, so I won't bother doing that. But I'll just show you one. Like I had to do this 15 different times with slight variations, but I'll just do one, and then I'll sort of explain the ways that I varied it. So first of all, we need to, once we've got this file, we go File, Open as Layers. Make sure you don't choose Open, because that will open as a separate file, and that's not what we want. We want it to open in here and be part of this picture. I've accidentally duplicated that, so I'll just delete that. File, Open as Layers, and I think I saved it in here as background.jpg. If it gives you this message, just choose Convert. And so you have this sort of parchmenty looking picture, which, because it's so much bigger than the size of the layer, you can move it around sort of quite a lot and get different versions. And I made sure to do that in between different ones. I didn't want them all to have exactly the same pattern. And I doubt that you would notice what I've done when you're playing the game, but it's one of those things where you'd notice it if I didn't do it. Let's say I had exactly this pattern on every one. It wouldn't look like, it might tend to look like, not so much that it was moving from one picture to another, but that the background was staying the same and the brush strokes were changing, and that would sort of look a bit weird. So every time I finished one and did another, I would either move it or I might rotate it 90 degrees clockwise, or I might, and this is in the layer menu, I might flip horizontally or flip vertically, and then move it. That would give you a slightly different pattern each time. So we've got the pattern. We need to give it an alpha channel, which we do down here in the layers display. And if you can't see that, if it's not on your screen, always go to dockable dialogues. Oops, Windows, dockable dialogues, and it'll definitely be there. And also, of course, if you don't have this toolbox, which allows you to select how you're manipulating stuff, click on toolbox. But so I've got that. We need to give it an alpha channel, which I've done. We move this up to the top. I mean, there's a couple of orders. You can round off the corners and then add the brush strokes, or the other way around. In this particular case, I'm going to round off the corners first. So what I've done there is I picked this little sort of magic wand looking thing, which is the fuzzy select, and I clicked in the black corner, the other black corner, the other black corner, and the other black corner, and each time before I clicked I pressed shift, because that will tell the program that you want to add to your selection. You don't want to make a new selection. If I didn't do that, I would go click, and you can see I've selected the top left bit, and then if I click again, well, it selects the top right bit, but it unselects the top left bit. So you have to press shift each time to add to it. And then we get into the other layer, and the selection is still there. I don't know if you can, how easy it is to see that, but you can still see the selection outlined, and then you Command X if it's on a Mac, or Control X if you're on a PC. And once you hide that, you can see that we've got this transparent we've got the rounded corners. So the next step, and I didn't do this at the time, but I would recommend doing this, just have a little check to make sure that there aren't any sort of bits that aren't quite selected, because when I did this originally, there was, in quite a few of them, there was like a single line of pixels that wasn't quite selected and wasn't quite cut. But in this particular case, it seems to have done fine. So we'll go Command Shift J or Control Shift J to get back to the full screen. So now we want to again open as layers, and this time we're getting the brush, and it is an SVG file, which is a vector graphics file, meaning it's not it doesn't have a set size. We have to. I mean, it means a few different things, but among other things, it means it doesn't have a set size. And I found that sort of between 1,000 and 2,000 was about right for this. I made sure to load this thing at slightly different sizes for each of the little pictures, because I wanted it to look a bit rough and handmade and not quite consistent. So let's choose 1400, sorry, and the other one will automatically update. And so we have this new layer. So let's say that we want to do the one that's a dead end going from the east, like that. So we might do something like that. Occasionally I would, again, to try and get it sort of a bit rough and inconsistent, again I would maybe sometimes transform it 90 degree. Well, obviously I have to do it 90 degrees to get the north-south ones, but occasionally I might rotate it 180 degrees. That doesn't seem to... Oh, I've done it with the wrong one. Sorry. Layer, transform, rotate 180 degrees. and then it sort of looks slightly different. In order to get the ones where it's like a corner, so let's say if there's a road to the north and the east, but not to the west and the south, I would go arbitrary rotation and sorry, I've got on the wrong layer again. Did the same thing wrong. Layer, arbitrary rotation, and move it something like 45 degrees. Again, I didn't try and get it exact because of the effect I was going for, and that's how I would have done, indicating there's a road to the north and to the east, or a tunnel to the north and to the east, but not to the west and the south. Well, whatever one we do, of course, you notice that that's blue and not black. There's a few ways to make it black. The way that I did it was I went to colours and brightness contrast, and I put the brightness right down and the contrast right up, and it's black. And finally, because this is really big, this is 1024 by 1024, we scale it to 300 by 300, and then we file and export as whatever we want to export it as. In this case, I would export it as 1100 because the code generates text for what exits there are in the order north, east, south, west, and it indicates that there is a tunnel with a 1 and that there isn't a tunnel with a 0. So this particular one would be 1100. And that's basically how I did it, sort of 15 different times for 15 different ones. I could have done it more quickly by, for example, if I did a three-way junction, I could have just rotated that 90 degrees clockwise, 90 degrees anti-clockwise, and 180 degrees, and then just saved it as the 4 different three-way junctions. But I decided to do it from scratch each time, loading the brush with a slightly different size each time, in order to give it a sort of handmade feel or a kind of rough feel. Again, I don't know if it's probably something that you would notice if I hadn't done it at best. I don't think people are going to look at it and go, oh, well, doesn't that look handmade? But it might sort of be one of those things where if I hadn't done it, you'd notice that they were just rotations of each other. And the other thing that I did was in between each one, I'm just pressing Control Z now to go back in time with the commands. I would move the parchment picture so that you didn't get the same picture each time. And as I said before, occasionally flipping and rotating the picture. So that is how that is done. You might wonder, how am I going to put indication that there is a settlement or something in the picture? Am I going to have to do 15 more pictures with an indication of a settlement, and then sort of 15 more pictures with an indication of a special location? Well, actually no, because there's a way of displaying one picture with another picture behind it. So I'm just going to use the normal map pictures, and then I'm going to have special pictures to indicate that there's something in that location which will be displayed on top of those basic map pictures. But that is something that I will deal with in a upcoming video. So I hope that what I've told you today was relevant or interesting to at least some of you, and I hope you will tune in next time.